In this video, we're going to add a program to the temperature probe gauge from the previous video so that it will update automatically. This is the 10th and last video in a series of 10 videos about sensors. For this video, you're going to need the JackBord Basic, a USB-C cable, a PC or Chromebook running the Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge browser. You're going to need 3 10 or 20 centimeter female jumper wires, 1 temperature probe, 1 M4 nut, 1 M4 bolt, and 1 M4 spanner. Now, of course, before we can use the temperature probe, we actually need to connect it to the JackBord Basic. And just as an overview, you can see that you've got the probe here. We have the M4 nut and bolt which are holding it to the JackBord Basic. And then these are the jumper wires that provide the power and also data for the temperature probe to the JackBord Basic. And then on this side we have a more detailed view. So this is the temperature probe, which is this part over here. And then this represents port D on the JackBord Basic, which is this one here. And so the 3-volt jumper wire comes over here, and then it goes to the 3-volt pin on the Basic. The ground pin from the sensor goes to the ground pin on port D of the Basic. And then finally the data pin goes from the data line on the sensor over to port pin D1 on the JackBord Basic. And just be careful, because these pins on this side are actually port C, are not port D. So this port is different to the A and B and C ports, AB ports, because on the AB ports there are 2 of each pin. So there are 2 A1s, 2 A2s, etc. But on port C and D, which is this guy here, you only have 1 each. Just take a minute and check your connections against these pictures. So this one here shows the jumper wires connecting to the temperature sensor itself. So you've got the 3-volt power, ground, and data. And then over here we've got the corresponding cables going into port D. So this is port D1, which is the blue data line. Then we've got the ground line, which goes to the green cable, which is for ground. And then the yellow jumper goes into the 3-volt pin on port D. And then this is just an overview picture. Check yours against these and make sure that they match. And again, remember, the color of the wires isn't important, it's where they go that matters. As we did before, we set up the temperature probe by running the SW1 on command. So I'm here on the start page and we've got our temperature probe connected. So now we're going to run the S1W on command. And here we go. So we run it, and now the Basic is telling us that it's found the temperature probe and that it's on channel 37. So now the JackBord Basic knows that this probe exists and we can get some readings from it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use a program to update the readings on the temperature meter so that we don't have to keep on manually rerunning the put gauge command. And so to do this, we're going to use a very short program that will essentially take a reading every second and update the gauge. So I'm here on the program page and we're running the simple temperature meter program. And I've got the probe, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in a cup of cold water. And you'll see that the temperature starts falling, but not rapidly, because it takes a certain amount of time for the temperature change to penetrate the metal outside and actually reach the detector. And so there you can see the reading is falling, and it's doing so automatically. I'm not having to continually update it by running the PG command. So just looking at the code briefly, the first thing we do is we clear the screen, then we print the title, and that appears on the print tab over here. Then we set up the rectangle, which is this blue rectangle, and we display the title, which is this bit here, the simple temperature meter. And in the main program loop, which is where we basically stay for the remainder of the program, we just run the put gauge command that we did earlier, and then we wait for 1 second, and then we run it again. And so this is the basic simple temperature meter program. Now, one thing we haven't done in this code is to set up the sensor itself. And you remember we needed to run the s1w_on command. So I'm going to add that. Go set up temp probe. And then we run s1w_on. And what that will do is turn on the one-wire system and find the temperature probe for us. And finally, to get the code, we use the code's TMT code, which is TMT 3 capital N, small z, capital W. And then you go to jb.works and just paste it into the search prompt. Click search, and then you'll be taken straight to the code. And then you literally just copy the code, come over to the program page, paste it in, and run it. So that's how you get the code for this video. In this video, we updated the temperature probe gauge from the previous video and used a program to update it automatically. And so this means you don't have to keep on running the put gauge command to get a new reading. So you can use this program to measure temperature and the temperature probe to measure all sorts of temperatures around the place. So for example, in the fridge, in a cup of hot water, or in a hot water cupboard, in grass, or in ice water. And so having a portable temperature probe is a really useful thing. This is the last video in this series. By now you should have a basic knowledge of sensors and how they work, so you can measure light and temperature in your environment and learn more about it. For more ideas and things to do, visit jb.works. For more information and to get help, visit jb.works.